Good morning and welcome to the middle school math presentation for the mid-year report. I'm going to be talking today about middle school math 1 and 2. So that'll include the at grade level 6th and 7th graders as well as 6th graders that are one level accelerated. A big area of focus that both middle school math 1 and 2 have been trying to use this year is pictures, and using pictures to help the kids generate the questions that they have, and eventually they'll get to the mathematical question that we want them to do. So one way that we use this is by using the I see and I wonder, listing all the things that we see, and it's amazing to some of the things the kids see in this, and what they wonder, and that will eventually gear us to the mathematical question that we'd like. The election has been a great source of these pictures that we've been using to help generate questions. In this particular question, we're just trying to find the total number of votes cast for the Republicans in the Iowa caucus. Not all of the votes are present on the picture, and eventually they're able to solve that problem. Here's one that really gets them interested. And this question doesn't take too long for them to generate. How much does that cost? So typically they'll just see the burger and what questions they have, and then the next slide would be the costs of the different burgers and patties and so on and so forth. As far as STEAM goes, we obviously with the election stuff, that's a nice combination between mathematics and social studies, but science was one day talking about how their kids are struggling with the speed formula, and breaking down the formula and so on and so forth. So we came up with this question about, at what speed do we need to walk to science class to make it to class in 5, 4, and 3 minutes? Okay, and basically we just left it at that. The kids had to decide how they're going to what they needed to measure, what information they needed, how they're going to get it, and eventually the class said, well, we're going to measure using meter sticks. And from that point, they're able to solve the problem and really break down the formula and use it. So a good use of connecting between math and science. This is an example of how we're responding to the mid-year assessment. After the semester 1 final, we found out that in course 2, kids are still struggling with a particular question in probability, where we're trying to look at the probability of 2 events happening, and what would happen, or what's the probability of both of those things happening. So, it's something we just heard on the radio on the way. I didn't even realize that Hillary Clinton won by 6 consecutive coin tosses. And so we'll put up this question: are you as lucky as? And the kids had to figure out the probability. And one of the things that we're doing here is this: we're collecting the information. Kids are doing the problem. We'll talk about it. They'll do the problem. They'll hand in their work, and we're really trying to look at, is 75% or more of our kids getting this question right? If it's not, then it's something we're going to keep continuing to go back to. It's something that's real simple. I mean, a question like this takes 5-7 minutes out of the day. It's a great way to get them warmed up and get going. Now, as far as the data goes, everybody should have this handout right now. We'll talk first about course 1. That's the 6th graders that are at grade level. As you can see from up here, that the data looks very similar from 2015 to 2016. The overall class average, same, 70 or about the same. The number of kids that are 70%, that scored 70% or higher, that percentage very similar. And then we also have the breakdown by benchmark or priority standard, I guess. Each one of those right there and in comparison. So overall, we feel like our course 1 kids are right on pace as to where they were last year. Now, this next page, it has the results from last year broken down by demographics. So if we take a look at the overall in 2014, 2015, the ratio part where it says 0.54, those were had 54% of our kids that were on pace to being proficient last year. Okay, and when we look at this year's data, we're projecting that we have 60% of our kids that are on pace for being proficient. So up there with that number. The other thing that the course or the middle school math teachers were very intentional at the beginning of the year to make sure that they knew in each one of their classes and that they focused on, met with the free and reduced kids. They looked at these demographics and said, all right, we need to know who these kids are and we need to be intentional. We need to do little check-ins. How are they doing? How well are they understanding? And just having little conversations with that. And you can see that definitely shows up in their data. I mean, their free and reduced is very similar to the overall percent of kids that are at proficiency. The black students, they're at around the same. Actually, it's a little bit higher than the overall. So that's one message that, or one thing that course 2 can learn from course 1 is that we need to be a little more intentional about who these kids are and make sure that we do these kind of check-ins similar to what course 1 did, because course 2's demographics are not as good as the course 1. Course 2 and 6th grade, so these are the kids that are accelerated 1 grade level. Again, their numbers are very similar to what they were last year, the average 70% or higher. And then 7th grade, this is the at grade level course 2, their numbers, again, very similar. And the one thing that was new this year with the middle school math 2 is that we do have the Big Ideas curriculum that's new to us. And so anytime you get something new, you're a little worried that things aren't, you know, how are they going to do? How are they going to do? So far, our unit assessments are better than what they were last year. So our common unit assessments, same ones that we used last year, were a little bit higher this year than what we were. Our semester 1 final results, very similar to what we had last year. Okay. Last year we projected, and this is course 2 as a whole, so it's both the accelerated 6th graders and the at grade level 7th graders. 64% of the kids were on were projected to meet proficiency. That was from last year. This year, the number is exactly the same, 64%. And I did talk a little bit earlier about our demographics, and one change that course 2 really needs to do is we need to sit down and have a good conversation about who these kids are, who are free lunch kids. We need to know exactly who they are. We need to make sure that we're checking in with them and be more intentional. I mean, the teachers, we need to take a little page from what course 1 has done and really be more intentional. I shouldn't say we don't know who they are, but just having the check-ins and doing things like that, I think really goes a long way. At least it shows that for the course 1 data. Now we're off to Mike Larson. He's going to talk about the other middle school math classes.